I can just leave.
You
Take
could.
the rest of the day off.
You could.
Will you host the last hour? I'm going home.
Yeah, I could do that. Like I don't do it other places.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. A beautiful Upstate Thursday morning. And, of course, at this time, every Thursday, we take a short trip right up the road to Charlotte, North Carolina, and welcome in one half of the host of the Panther Nation podcast, which you can find on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, and more importantly, by searching and subscribing on YouTube. He is Rashad Beard joining the show. What's up, big fella?
What's going on? Draft is over. Lots of stuff to talk about.
I want you to know before we talk Panthers, you're a bite now.
Certified hater mode.
You're a bite now.
Certified hater mode. Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into
this.
It's
a thing.
It is. I like it.
Yeah, he's been exhibiting it all morning long. So yeah.
All right, you know what, Rashad? Let's start this Panther segment by talking about the Falcons. All right, because this Michael Penix pick has got people up. And I have defended it, all right? In fact, I've said the Falcons did make a mistake. The mistake was paying a 36-year-old quarterback who ain't never won a damn thing $100+ million to come quarterback your team. The Michael Penix Jr. selection makes sense to me because Kirk Cousins is more likely than not going to get hurt.
Because paying a young guy like Deshaun Watson that much money is okay, but because he's old, who ain't won nothing either. I'm just saying. I'm going to turn my mic off and back up.
You're bringing in a guy who, yes, he is older than the other rookie quarterbacks. He is a decade younger than your starter who's going to get hurt and call the shot. I don't like it. I don't want it, but it is what it is. You give him a couple of years to sit. And if the Falcons lose their first-round pick next year, which Shefty has suggested that there is a chance that they might, they can't draft a quarterback next year going into the third year of Kirk Cousins' contract, a contract that I don't think he's playing all 4 years of. I'm not saying it makes you better now because it doesn't, Rashad. I'm saying that even though you don't have to like it, it makes sense as a pick. And it has just turned into chaos up in here today, man.
I mean, yeah, it all depends how you want me to approach it because I love the pick from a Panthers perspective. I mean, you took a first-round pick that's not going to see the field for 2 years. So I love it. I mean, it's a great, fantastic pick. Great job, Falcons. But on the GM and the team planning side of it, I kind of see what they're doing. I don't necessarily agree with it. I get it. Hypothetically, it makes sense. You don't plan on picking the top 10 if you have your guy and you really feel convicted about him, and you're not going to be picking in the top 10 again for the next couple of years. Why not take him and see what happens? But if it doesn't work out, you severely set yourself back because I look at it like this from an NFC South perspective. You're right in the driver's seat in theory, on paper, right? You could have took a guy that could instantly impact the football field immediately. You picked it, but you decided to choose a guy that's not going to see the field for 2 years. So, I mean, from a Panthers perspective, I love it, but I also get it. And if they swing and they miss, it's going to be a terrible setback for the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, for sure. You know who else you can say that about? Every quarterback drafted in the first round. Every quarterback ever in the first round, if you swing and a miss, it's a huge setback. That's what that position is at that spot.
Yeah, but you're also not taking you're not taking a guy in the top 10. They took a guy in the top 10, and not only that, they also paying another guy 180 whatever million guaranteed or whatever he's getting paid. So you're doubling down. You set yourself back from a cap perspective and from a draft capital perspective. It's pretty bad. If it doesn't work out, it's pretty bad. But if it does work out, they're gonna look like geniuses.
If it doesn't work out, is something I can say about J.J. McCarthy. I can say it about Bo Nix. I can say it about Caleb Williams. I can say it about Spencer Rattler. I can say it about any quarterback that gets drafted. And you're not wrong about it, but obviously, if it doesn't work out, the Bears, if Caleb Williams doesn't work out, they're going to look real silly, especially if Jaden Daniels does. If Jaden Daniels doesn't work out, the Commanders are going to look real silly, especially if Michael Penix Jr. does, right? That's all well and good. My point here is, I'm not saying you got to like the pick, and I understand that a first-round pick could have impacted the field this year. I think the Falcons, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong here, I think the Falcons enter the year as the odds-on favorite to win this division, to be honest with you, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix Jr. starting. I get it, But I also think they've built a roster that can stay together for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Get the next guy now because Kirk Cousins ain't playing when he's 40 years old, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, I mean that's basically they gambled, right? They gambled, and I do agree that they're in the driver's seat on paper, right? It's got to be coached. I don't know what Raheem's going to do. Is he going to come in and just instantly make an impact? And I do agree that they were not coached very well last year. So you bring in a coach, and on paper they're solid. I just still question it. You could have brought in a guy like an edge rusher. They need defense bad, and for them to take a quarterback that's going to sit for 2 years when they could have taken a guy that impacted the game immediately. It just doesn't, man. We'll talk. I guess that same kind of applies to the Panthers too, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
All right, let's jump over to the draft class. It's obviously in the rear window now. We talked a little bit last Friday about the selection of Xavier Legette, guy I very much like, guy I think fits.
Oh man, I really over that.
Love that guy. Love that guy so much. And just a hell of a blast to listen to talk. So we won't spend a ton of time on him. Let's look down the rest of this class. Name me one other pick that you looked at that you really liked.
Jatavion Sanders, the tight end from Texas, the one I really like. Not only I like it because of the position, right? It provides a weapon for Bryce Young, but I love it because of the value. And I can't say that for the rest of the class, right? The rest of the class, I think we're a little bit of a reach. But I think Jatavion Sanders is a guy we got for value. It's a guy that they really like. They brought him for a top 30 visit. He provides instant impact. He can see the field immediately from a receiver standpoint. Got to work on some blocking. It's not there. Going to be a little bit predictable. They're going to have specific packages for him to get involved. That's the one I really like. I really like that pick, and I think he's going to make an impact. He's going to see the field pretty quickly.
I did too. I actually really like that pick. The only other one that really jumped off the page with me, and I'll tell you, I think it's as much about the process to get there as it was the selection. John Brooks, the running back out of Texas. I love that pick. You got the number one running back on the board, and you got your second round pick back next year to still end up with this cat in the back pocket. Like, I know he's coming off the ACL. There's questions if he's even going to be ready for when fall camp rolls around, or if it's going to be closer to week 1 of the season. But if this dude is able to get his wheels back under him the way he was playing the first half of the season at Texas, man, if he finishes last year at Texas like he started, this guy's getting drafted way higher than he did. I am totally fine with rolling the dice on Jonathan Brooks where you did. I
got to bring a little realism here. One thing about me is I am consistent, right? I'm very consistent in my takes, and I'm not a fan of taking a running back in the second round. I'm just not a fan of spending that much draft capital on a position that the value isn't quite there. Now, I will agree that I do like the trade back to get, like, we traded back and then we traded back up to get him. I like that. If we had taken him at 39, 33, or wherever we stayed where we were, I would have been really upset. But because we were able to recoup our future second round pick, 2025, which we did not have, we got that back with trading back. So I'm happy about that. And I think Jonathan Brooks, I love him. He's talented, very good player, provides something we have not seen on this roster since CMC was around, with the receiving ability out the backfield, very good contact balance. He's a very good running back. Please don't get me wrong. But this is another one coming off the ACLs. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to provide immediately. And when you spend a second round pick on a guy, I want to see that impact immediately felt. And I don't think we're going to see it. Now, year 2, year 3, I think we're going to be saying, oh, this is a great pick. So I'm going to sit back and wait. I'm not going to immediately say this is a terrible pick. I'm going to wait and say, all right, let's see how it goes. Because I really think that Jonathan Brooks pick is a pick for the future, right? You got Miles Sanders, probably not going to be here next year. You got Chuba Hubbard, who's on a contract year. Now you got Jonathan Brooks in that backfield, and I think that's protecting us from the future. And I do think he's not going to be RB1. I think Chuba has earned the right to be RB1, but I do think he's going to rotate in, and kind of sort of similar to what Bijan Robinson is with the Falcons. They took him in the first round, but he definitely did not get first-round snaps and did not put up first-round numbers. I think it's going to be a very similar thing to here in Carolina for Jonathan Brooks.
I am very interested in that. We're talking with Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. The good news, because I think, like I said, the one thing holding that guy back from maybe even going off the board higher, I know how you feel about running backs. I don't even disagree with that feeling. I also know every now and then one stands out. And I think if it wasn't for the ACL injury, John Brooks would have been that guy that you go, yeah, I'm not a run back in the first round guy. I'm not a running back in the second round guy, but this cat's special. This cat's different. I felt that way about John Brooks before the injury. And here's the thing. If you get an ACL injury at John Brooks' age, as opposed to when you're 27, 28, 29, much easier to bounce back from. So that even knocks some concern down. But I think you mentioned something that I'm interested in, which is a guy who is remarkably consistent with his hands out of the backfield opens up the offense for Dave Canellis, I think, quite a bit. And if you are treating this as I think they should, I'm going to get kickback as Bryce Young's rookie season because of the BS that happened in that organization last year.
Stop it. It is not.
You are putting him in a new offense, utilizing the running back as a safety valve as often as you do as a genuine pattern within a formation, I think can't be anything but good. And John Brooks is that.
Yeah, Canales definitely has a history of using the running backs. If you go back and look at his Tampa Bay production and or his days in Tampa Bay, you see Rachaad White put up some good numbers out of the backfield as a receiving threat. So I think you're going to see that similar thing with Jonathan Brooks. I just don't know how quickly you're going to see it. And again, I don't know. I'm not a medical. They say a clean tear. I don't even know what that is. I'm not a doctor, so I have no clue what that really means. But hopefully he gets back. All the word on the street is that he's going to be ready for camp around June or July or whatever, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm in wait and see mode for Jonathan Brooks. I think this is a pick that I don't necessarily agree with right now, but in 2 years down the road, 2-3 years down the road, I think we're going to say, all right, yeah, it was worth it.
All right, let me give you one more name. Got a couple more minutes with Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show. One more name I'm real intrigued by, and it's not because I think the guy's going to step in and be a starter on the defense, but I think he's one of those cats that could kind of be in everywhere, like a Steve Gleason used to be for the Saints, like just a special teams ace that becomes kind of a team leader in that role. What about the 7th rounder, Michael Barrett, the inside linebacker out of Michigan? Bit undersized. He's like 5'11", 233. He ain't the big, bulky, hulking middle linebacker that you want. In fact, he almost looks more like a corner than he does a middle linebacker. But I think this dude, everything I've read about him is he is a born leader. He is an all-in kind of guy. He's going to get everything he's got. This dude feels like one of those cats that becomes a fan favorite, becomes a special teams favorite, is going to be involved in plays, etc. I like this pickup. Doesn't make your defense that much better, but I think you could have a locker room leader and a bit of an ace on special teams in this cat.
Yeah, you nailed it. That took my thought was special teams. I don't see him making a major impact on the field day one or year one, year two. I think it's going to be, again, he's not the most athletic guy in the world. Some of the athletic testing isn't quite there. But I think down the road, you'll be able to see him make an impact on special teams. And I think shout out to Carlo in the chat. He made a very good point in comparing him to Sam Franklin, right? Sam Franklin was a guy that did his impact wasn't necessarily felt year one, year two, but he started to make a special teams impact. He's made his name and cut his teeth on special teams. And then you actually got to see him play. And when we got to see him play his natural position, we was like, all right, this guy's pretty solid. And so I think, yeah, I agree with that. Special teams, outside of that, not much. I do hear all the raving about his locker room leadership. He's the winningest player in Michigan history. He was there for like 6 years, COVID years, obviously. So shout out to him for that. And I think, again, good locker room leader. And I think that's what we need. We need some culture builders around here. And I think he's going to do just that.
You're just talking about special teams. What do you think about the thicker kicker?
The thicker kicker. Yeah, man. Hey, look, I do think we need to bring in some competition for Pinheiro. Pinheiro has questionable distance. He's a decent kicker. Won us a couple of games for sure, but when he's off, he's off. When he's on, he's on. I like to see some competition brought in. Plus, he did not attend the voluntary camp, so I don't know if maybe I'm looking a little deep into that. But hey, if you're not all in, we got to find somebody that is. So hey, the thicker kicker, I'm here for it.
The thicker kicker.
I just learned to hear him say thicker kicker.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it was amazing. Like I thought it would be.
We got him to say Jim Bob Cooter, but it's a solid second place. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, make sure you go to YouTube, find the Panther Nation podcast, like, get subscribed, turn that bell icon because they are live all the damn time. What y'all got coming up next?
Man, a lot of stuff coming. We got a big collaboration coming up next week. I can't really talk about it just now. We got a couple of really nice collaborations coming up. So please stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. PNP is where it's at for Panthers content. A lot of big things happening. So stay tuned. And let me just leave this final thought with Panther Nation regarding this class. Be patient with it, right? Let Dave Canellis and those guys develop. I look at this class as a developmental class. I don't see a lot of major impact day one. Give them a couple years. Give them their 3 years. Let's see what Canellis can do from a development standpoint. They deserve a shot. They deserve a clean slate. So let's not be too hard on the class. I know the national pundits are grading us really low, but let's see how it develops. Let's be patient and let's keep pounding.
May I just say, on behalf of me, thank you. Thank you. Because I'm so okay. Like, why are so many Cats fans setting the bar at like division title or he's a failure? My man ain't even been on the sideline yet, Rashad. What is happening with your fan base, dude?
All right. Hold on. Who have you heard say that? We're Rashad, at least Rashad and I are realistic this year. You know where the expectations are. The expectations, unfortunately, are last. I haven't heard anything other than that.
I didn't say you were saying that. I said I'm a man of the people.
Are
I'm
you?
out and about.
Are you? Okay.
Yes.
You may be a man of the people, but I'm the people's champ.
I agree with everything you said. Yeah, listen, he's on one today. He is. Rashad Beard, Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on Twitter again at Panther Nation PC. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for dropping got something big, but I can't tell you what it is, Rashad.
Sorry.
That's a hanger.
Sorry.
I like that.
I don't want to jinx it, but just stay tuned and you'll see what's going on. A lot of good stuff. That's all I can say.
Talk to you next week, big fella.
All right, guys. By then, you'll see it, hopefully.
By then we'll know. Yeah, we'll feel good about it. Panther Nation podcast, Rashad Beard. Talk to you next week, my man. That is Rashad Beard. We got to run to a break. When we come back in the next hour of the radio program, we'll dive more into some NBA playoffs. And then, of course, it's time for Fight Club with the great Malonzo, all coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Not even an intro. Because I'm on one today.
Wait.
No, we're not. The Dallas Mavericks hold a 3-2 series lead after dominating the Clippers, speaking of the NBA, last night, 123-93. Luka Doncic had 35 points, 10 assists, and 7 boards in the win, while no Clippers scored more than 15 points. The Atlanta Braves woke up the bats and prevented the series sweep after dropping 2 in a row when Ronald Acuna Jr. had 2 hits and an RBI, while Austin Riley drove in 2 more on 2 hits in the win. Chris Sale went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits and striking out 9 in the win. Make sure you tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel, although today it's just Diesel, or just Cole Bryson rather, get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. And it's all Wire to Wire. According to the jam cam, we jamming out there today. Ain't nobody moving.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, Marcus. That's pretty much it.
You know, we said the thicker kicker like several times and never said his actual name.
Why would you? The thicker kicker.
What's his actual name?
I don't even know.
Harrison Mavis.
Sure.
His T-shirts are sweet, though. I was going to ask Rashad about a thicker kicker PMP collab on T-shirts. That would be pretty cool. Hey, Banana Bonanza. Prize Picks first break.
And 4.
Bob Cooter, and we're talking about Thomas. You gotta say it the right way, Rashad. You gotta say it. You gotta do it, man. I can't do it with the slang, man. Jim Bob Cooter. Come on, Jim Bob Cooter. I can't do it. Don't hit snooze. Play the Rob Brown Show. Now morning 6 to 7.
Where will Jim Bob Cooter is now? Do you capitalize the J and the B, or is it like JMBOB?
It's hyphenated, so
That's what I thought.
I'm guessing Bob is like his middle name.
Well, if it's hyphen.
It may
makes
be
it one
James
thing.
Robert Cooter, possibly. I don't know, but that doesn't have the same ring as Jim Bob.
Wikipediaing Jim Bob Cooter. He is currently OC for Indianapolis. He is James Robert Cooter.
Thank you.
Nailed it. Yes, it is a wild name. Just took time out of my very busy day to Wikipedia Jim Bob Cooter and see where he's hanging out at.
Because I had a theory, and my theory was correct. I love it when it works out that way.
James Robert Cooter is currently the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. James Robert Cooter is a hell of a name.
If your name was James Robert Cooter, you're going with Jim Bob Cooter too. I mean, come on.
Dude, if my name was anything but my last name was Cooter, I'm going Jim Bob Cooter. How do you do better than Jim Bob Cooter?
Scooter
Cooter? That's not bad. It's not bad. All right, we have talked a little bit about the NBA playoffs as they are taking place right now, and I would like to stick there for just a minute. Primarily, a series that I think might end up turning into one of the best basketball series that we have seen in a very long time, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. I am pumped about this series. And I know that there are at least some people who have written off Denver. They're not the same as they were last year, Rob Brown. And I know that because the Lakers just showed it to everybody. Y'all, they won that series 4-1. And in 2 of those games, yes, they were buzzer beaters from Jamal Murray, but I also think that those same people are to some degree underestimating that despite having a broken roster, in my ever so humble opinion, the Lakers were still a good team. Not great, not all time, certainly far from the best team LeBron's ever played on, but it was a good team. It was a team that went down to New Orleans and knocked them off twice in a row to end up with a 7 seed and the right, congratulations, to play Denver in the opening round. But man, Minnesota-Denver might be one of the best playoff series we've seen in a very long time. I literally just got done reading through Drew Dinsick, who is a capper that I have had on the BetQL show a couple of times, who opened his take on the breakdown of this with, "I think the Nuggets are overrated," end quote. Like I said, I think the Nuggets for the past couple of years have had a strategy that they fall back on, and it is do enough and nothing more. Save gas in the tank is off. It's like a NASCAR strategy, man. Sometimes the right strategy is not try to race the guy for the lead with 30 laps left, even though it feels like you're running out of time. Sometimes it is to save gas so you can stand on the accelerator down the home stretch. And I just get that vibe about Denver.
See, I get all that and the laid back play and stuff, but having the confidence to come back when you're down 20 something against the Lakers, I get that. But what if you don't? Because they still barely won those games. And I still believe that other teams in the league are looking and going, they're beatable. Whether they're playing possum or doing rope-a-dope, which is what you mentioned last week, a little confidence sometimes gets that last basket to go in to beat that team.
I think that if you end up in a spot where a team is maybe surprising Denver because they have hung around longer than Denver anticipated, I think part of saving gas in the tank, if I may go back to my NASCAR analogy here, I think part of saving gas in the tank is so that you have that extra gear available to you when you need it. And I think Denver has that extra gear available to them.
People still run out of gas in NASCAR, don't they?
Yes, they do. But again,
they thought they had enough, and then they're running on fumes to cross the finish line, third or fourth or whatever.
Listen, I'm not saying Denver's unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. Denver is beatable. I just think they were about as beatable as they were last year, and they won the NBA title last year. I think they're as beatable as they were last year. Denver had some L's in the playoffs last year. They can lose basketball games. But I think that, again, the emphasis on saving gas is so that when it comes down to the end of the race, when it comes down to those last couple of laps, while everybody else who has been standing on the accelerator and living on the edge, while everybody else that's been living on that edge is starting to fall back because they're just out of stamina, they're out of gas in this case, you're not. You're not. And it doesn't mean that there's not going to be another car on the track that also saved gas, that there's not going to be another car on the track that also has the same, if not better, equipment than you. I honestly think right now, if I go look at, say, the Boston Celtics roster, I actually think with the emergence of Derek White in these playoffs the last couple of games, I honestly believe Boston's roster is better than Denver's. But I think you've also got to take into consideration the coaching, which I'll put Michael Malone up against any coach in the NBA to get the most out of his squad. And getting the most out of the Nuggets doesn't mean going to score 140 points in a night. It means scoring whatever the other guy do +2. That's what it means. That's getting the most out of that team. Whatever the other guy scores, I need you to score 2 more than that. And that is consistently what they have done all season long. I know they ended up with the 2 seed in the West to Oklahoma City. I get it. But I think that had a lot to do with the Thunder mashing the accelerator down the stretch. And I do wonder, like the worst thing for Denver, in my opinion, is that OKC swept New Orleans because it bought them a couple of days to sit back and rest and relax after a sprint to the checkered flag at the end of the regular season. I think OKC gets to take a little bit of a breath. The bad news is that Minnesota's standing right there. Minnesota, the 3 seed, is now here. And Minnesota has Ant-Man and Karl Anthony Towns who are doing special stuff. Have you heard there's a fun little conspiracy theory going around on social media right now It's been going around for a while, but it's cropped back up, obviously, because of the way that he's playing right now, that Anthony Edwards is actually Michael Jordan's son.
Well, I told you last week when we were talking about it, or it might have been this week, is the splice photo of the two.
Yeah.
Have you seen the splice photo?
I still haven't seen it.
You need to look it up because that would definitely not shock me because that's how close the two look. I don't think it's been altered either other than cutting the face in half.
Yeah. The fun little conspiracy theory on social media is that Ant-Man is actually the long-lost son of one Michael Jordan, and this performance in the playoffs is proof positive of that. Now, I don't necessarily believe that that's true, but he's damn sure found another gear in these playoffs. And so what I look at is the Nuggets Lakers series. The Lake Show, in my opinion, didn't really have that guy that could go toe-to-toe with Jokic, right? You'd have liked to have thought it was LeBron, but it's a different style of basketball. I think Minnesota might. And I think that guy, in this case, that guy is actually a combination of those guys. It's Cat and Ant-Man. Now, my question is, what about the guards? And this is why I'm leaning Denver in this series.
By the way, I sent you the picture on X. So
I'll go
if
take
you
a
want
look
to
at
check it out.
This is why I lean to the Denver Nuggets. I lean to the Denver Nuggets because I think their defense is better. I just think it's better. I think it's a longer defense. I think when they pack Jokic in tight to the rim, and he has, again, he looks like the most unathletic, greatest basketball player on planet Earth we've ever had. I mean, the dude should not look like that and be able to also play like that, but he does. But I think you can pack Jokic in underneath the glass. You can allow him to play laterally, short quarter to short corner. And what that does is, whether you're running man or a zone in that case, it allows the guys that would ordinarily in a zone have a longer range out to the three-point line and up to the three-point line if they're out in that corner than a lot of guys on other teams would, because Jokic is a guy behind them that can play out wider in whether it's a zone or a man, wider in either direction. And I like that. It is hard to score over the length of the Denver defense. And what I'm intrigued in, to me, is Karl Anthony Towns and how he impacts that. I think you've got to, whether he succeeds or fails, we'll find out. But I think Karl Anthony Towns, has got to have the rocks to go right at Nikola Jokic. I do not think it's an option. I think he's got to have the stones to go right into the big fella's face and play the kind of basketball that Nikola Jokic wants to play. I think Cat's got to play Jokic ball underneath. And I think in order to do that, it's going to be calling out Jokic and going directly at him. If Cat does that, and then he is successful, I think the T-Wolves can win this series. But I think Denver is long enough. I think they are going to play this series mind-blowing and incredibly frustratingly slow. I think Denver, despite having Jamal Murray, who, again, I love. Every time I talk Denver, we talk Jamal Murray. Because while Jokic is absolutely the heart and soul of that team, Jamal Murray is as good of a scorer on the outside of a compacted defense as anybody else in the league. And I think that those two guys playing a two-man game can pretty much outproduce anything that Karl Anthony Towns can do. I think Cat's got to go right at Jokic more often than he doesn't. I think every possession for Minnesota needs to have Cat squaring off with Jokic. I think you have to play it that way. And then you just bank on Anthony Edwards being able to do everybody up dirty on the outside. If Anthony Edwards goes out there and he earns that spliced photo alongside Michael Jordan, which I am looking at right now, and yeah, he kind of looks just like him, like a lot, like same everything. If he goes out there, Ant-Man, and earns that extra Michael Jordan comparison, and Cat is able to compete with, I'm not going to say beat, because I don't think he can beat him. And that's not a shot at Cat. I don't think anybody can beat Nikola Jokic. I think that guy has figured out the game of basketball as much as anybody else. But if he can just go toe-to-toe with the guy, if he can just be competitive with Jokic, then I think at that point, Minnesota's got a chance. I think this is a long Denver team. I think this is a Denver team that is going to slow the game down so much that fans are going to think that it is boring, despite the fact that it should be one of the most competitive series in the NBA playoffs in recent memory. But I think they can muddy it up enough. And I think, like I said, and I'm even saying this about some of the guys I have had on the show in days gone by, I'm disagreeing with them outright. I think Denver has, for the second year in a row, because remember, they were not favorites to win an NBA title last year either. I think for the second year in a row, this team has lulled some people to sleep. This team has put some people to sleep. This team has created an image about themselves that is designed to make you be bored, make you not pay attention to them, make you ignore them. And I think if they can bring that into this series, they've got to win over Minnesota. All right, we got to run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, right now, it is time for Fight Club with the great Malonzo walking us around the world of MMA, boxing, and pro wrestling. It's all coming up next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, live reading. We're coming right back. Stay right there for me. All right, we're back, y'all. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Good to see everybody.
I had a sudden urge to eat.
Yeet.
No, this.
Oh.
But I can't. I kind of wouldn't mind.
I'm eating all over myself, Maggle.
Getting to do that. Still haven't done the Cody Woe, and I haven't eaten before. Will I be a different person after I finally eat it? Being a part of the Fireflies for the first time, and unfortunately, it was one of the last times that he did that. Yeah. Well, welcome into the Fight Club, where we're not afraid to eat, and we talk about things that we haven't done yet and want to do.
Yeet.
I want to be able to eat in the crowd. I want to be able to do the whoa during Cody's theme song and watch Rob Brown sing the theme song wrong.
Adrenaline in my soul, something, Cody Rhodes.
He's very consistent with that part, so I would love to see him do that.
I want to know 3 straight weeks in a row I've gone on BetMGM tonight. 3 straight weeks in a row they've asked me about professional wrestling. The brand is strong. The brand is strong.
Good for you, and I'm sure you represented well. Speaking of that, we have our name in the hat to get some WWE people on. Is that next week? I think.
Yes.
It's either next week or the week after, but I think it's next week. So, not sure who we're going to get or if we're going to get anybody, but we're going to try. And the last few interviews, all right, let's face it, we've never had a bad interview with a wrestler. Other type people, yes, but as a wrestler, no. By the way, before we get to WWE Backlash, Jimmy Smith says no one likes Ronda Rousey. I just want you to
I got to tell
know
you,
that. I was like, okay, I'm not surprised.
I was a big Ronda Rousey fan because of her early UFC days.
When she had that eye. when she
Yeah.
was just
She did. And then Holly Holm kicked the everything out of her one day.
She did.
And I was in a bar. I remember exactly where I was. I was at the Harbor Tavern that night watching that fight. And like there was just something different.
Is that
She
in
shows
Harvard?
Harbor.
Harbor. Okay.
And that was she shows up in WWE. And I think what's killing everybody is when she showed up, they very clearly put together a very special program to highlight her. And now she's like, Logan Paul's getting special treatment. It's like, yo, the UFC made a championship to give you. Remember, Ronda Rousey did not win the first women's championship. They gave her the first women's championship. Then she comes to WWE. She gets to go toe-to-toe with Hunter and Steph alongside The Rock. Name me anybody else who got that push.
First of all, the women's divisions existed in other forms of MMA. Just UFC didn't have it yet. And Dana White saw how strong that they were getting elsewhere and brought them in. So I don't think that was manufactured for that.
It by definition was. UFC did not have a women's division. It did not have a women's championship. And then they made one and handed the belt to her to have a championship.
The only belt I've really seen handed to anybody is John Jones. But, anyway, let us get to WWE Backlash, which happens this Saturday in France.
Lyon, France.
And actually starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So got some afternoon stuff to watch. Pretty excited about that. Let us start. And this is not for Nerf Wall because I didn't ask anybody else last week and I won't have a chance to do it. And you will see someone face the Nerf Wall this weekend. I'm not going to say who it is.
I want to tank this one just for the lulz.
Do you? Oh, yeah. Because you don't have to? All right. Yeah, but you would take great criticism on this program. You don't want to do that. The World Tag Team Championships, current champions, Awesome Truth, which is Miz, and friend of the show, R-Truth, going up against DIY, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa.
I mean, there's nobody on planet Earth over more than R-Truth right now. But here's the reason I'm not like quite ready to go full tilt lean in on this. It is because R-Truth is, aside from a very solid dude, I think a dude that like he understands his role as a 2-year-old man now.
Oh no, he's I think he's 55.
50, whatever he is.
Yeah. I think he's about the same age as me. Yeah, he's old. Just like I am. But he don't look like it because as he told us, he never stopped working out after high school. He just kept working out. And it just made sense. Yeah.
He's an absolute stud. I think that there is the chance that they use this opportunity to kind of roll over the belt because Truth's he's not a guy that's going to like carry around championships for a very long period of time. I'm actually going to go with the upset here and go DIY, get an opportunity to carry the strap. I'm not. It's the Awesome Truth. What am I doing? No, I'm not. It's the Awesome Truth.
Okay.
Undoing that.
I am going with DIY. They moved the entire family, the entire way, if you will, over to SmackDown. And I do think that they're going to win. And they're more, Awesome Truth, while good, it's two older guys. DIY, at least younger than them. And you got to push. Hunter's going to push some of the guys that came up from NXT, and I got to believe they're going to win it. All right, the other show, Raw, which is coming to the well here pretty soon. WWE Tag Team Championships, A-Town Down Under, which is Austin Theory and Grayson Waller versus the Street Profits.
I think you've got something going with Grayson Waller right now. But the Street Profits, they showed up on NXT the other day. They're kind of starting to slowly move them back to their original face persona, which they were white hot over with. Last time Raw was here in Greenville, they came out like the whole arena was bouncing when they came out. This one's a tough pick for me. This is a 50-50 pick. So coin flip, I'm going to go you keep it on with a dirty finish. You keep it on A-Town Down Under.
I am also going with A-Town Down Under. Keegan on the stream says for Fight Club, I want to see the Sanders family versus the Ball family. Sanders family wins that.
I don't know. Dion's ain't got that base he used to.
It doesn't matter. He's still faster than Daddy Ball.
I'm not disagreeing.
Daddy Ball will fight dirty though.
Yep.
I mean, we know that. We know
Yep.
that. But Shador, he can handle Lonzo because Lonzo Ball's always hurt. Just find a spot and kick him in it. Chances are he's already been injured there.
Dion and Shador went full heel on social media, getting into a scrap with a kid on a JV or on a FCS team that departed Colorado, and Shador was like, he's mid. We didn't need him anyway. The kid's dad fired back off and was like, why would you talk about my kid? He's not there anymore. And then Dion was like, my kid's going first round of the draft. What's your kid going to do? I got time. LOL. It's like, dude, maybe you shouldn't have time, Dion. Maybe don't have time.
I'm sure he doesn't have time this moment because he's preparing for a championship for Colorado. Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. I got to tell you, the Chad Gable heel turn, I'm okay with it. But what he did to Maxine, I mean, that's just, I mean, you want to dog Tozawa, you want to dog Otis, they can handle it, but don't pick on Maxine like that. Come on, dude. Sami Zayn retains.
Agreed. And also, no, you don't pick on Otis either. He's my big special boy. You leave him alone.
Otis also on American Idol. Check it out if you get a chance. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. You don't bring Tama Tonga in to do all the things that he's done and have him lose. Randy or Kevin Owens, maybe a turn on each other. Maybe Randy turns on KO. I don't know. I got to go. I'm going Bloodline.
I am going Bloodline. I don't even think you need one of those guys to turn on the other per se. I think you can have the Bloodline just kind of keep up to their old tricks, right? Just kind of keep doing what they're doing. By the way, there's more Usos running around.
There are, right? Including another one who's just been signed.
You could end up
who
with
could show up.